Hey, what's up guys and gals? It's the Tyrant here. Happy Saturday to you and welcome back to my weekly Q&A session where you guys ask the questions and I give you the answers. It's always my favorite time of the week, my best crowd, my best folks right here. It's always good to hang out with you guys. It's my candid conversation of the week and I can just talk to you like the friends and family that you are to me. So the format today is going to be pretty straightforward. So I'm going to go ahead and answer your questions. I actually selected 12 of them this week, which is more than I usually do. And then I'm going to have a segment at the end where I'm going to update you guys on some things and maybe even pitch some new ideas to you. So that way, if you don't want to stick around for that and you're just here for the Q&A, you don't have to watch the whole thing. But I strongly recommend that you do, and I hope that you enjoy it. For those of you who don't know how this works, it's pretty simple. If you want a question submitted for consideration for next week's video, you have one of three ways that you can do it. The first way is you can post it in the comment section below of this video. And I'm specifying that because recently we've seen people post questions in videos that weren't even part of the Q&A or not a Q&A at all. I've seen people post questions in Q&As that I posted months ago. And I've seen people post questions in my live streams, which, just for an FYI, the comments from live streams don't transfer over to the archives. And of course, I'm not going to, stop in the middle of a game so I can jot down a question. So again, if you want to do it via YouTube, the comment section of the current Q&A is the best way to go. Of course, you can also hit me up on Twitter at MythicTyrant. I'll usually see it a little bit easier from there just because it's more of a direct feed. And so that's certainly an option for you as well. And if you don't follow me on Twitter you definitely should. You can participate in conversations I have with other Halo YouTubers like Hidden Xperia, Actman, Late Night Gaming, of course Bungie, and 343 Industries. So it's a treat. You always find out some new information on there. So if you don't already follow me on Twitter, definitely start today. And of course the third way is if you're a premium member of this site via my Patreon, then that also means that you have access to our premium member Discord, and of course you can ask me in there as well. All right, so with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. Our first question of the week comes from H2 Halo. That's kind of clever. And H2 Halo asks, I'd like Chief to have flashbacks, which can be entire missions of lore about him or the origin of Blue Team in Halo 6. What do you think? Imagine playing what you read in the books. First of all, I think it's a great idea, but I wouldn't do that for Halo 6. Halo 6 needs to be a continuation of the current story. They already have two cliffhangers between Halo 5 and Halo Wars 2. However, I don't think that it's a bad idea. I think it would be really cool to have a game like that after they complete the current trilogy. Essentially, the way you're describing it sounds like what they did for Halo 3 ODST, and I love Halo 3 ODST, and I love what they did with that. I can certainly see them doing some sort of mini game or expansion type game where it does show how Master Chief reunited with Blue Team, especially for those who don't read the books. So yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I hope to see that sometime in the near future. So that's a great question, H2 Halo. Thank you. Our next question comes from Jonathan Skin. And Jonathan asks, do you think Blue Team, Fire Team Osiris, MC, I'm guessing that means Master Chief, and the Arbiter will end up on Reach? Nope, I don't think so. Can't think of any reason why they would. So, yep, that's an easy one. Thanks, Jonathan. Our next question comes from VK. And VK asks, should 343 have created Halo 4 and 5 after the Halo 3 mechanics, or what they did with using Reach's mechanics for Halo 4 and 5 in terms of abilities and mechanics? Okay, so just to clarify here, they didn't actually use Reach mechanics for 5. They did for 4. 5 is its own thing. Should they have modeled 4 on Halo 3? Maybe, but they kind of did. So yeah, mechanics-wise, it was probably more closely related to Reach just because of the armor abilities. But in terms of weapons and so forth, it was more like Halo 3. So they sort of did a little bit of both there. I feel like this was probably more of a callback to Halo Combat Evolved than anything else. Do I think it would have been better if they had gone that route? Maybe, but I saw Halo 4 as them sort of phasing it out. Remember, I've said in previous videos that I thought the armor abilities in Halo 4 felt more organic to the game than the ones that you saw in Halo Reach. And Halo 5 was a step further than that, in my opinion, in a positive direction. So I don't think it would have changed much unless you go back further than that and Bungie had modeled Halo Reach's mechanics from Halo 3's. That might have changed things a little bit and set the path a little bit better for Halo 4 and Halo 5. Still makes me wonder to this day if that was a way of Bungie trying to slowly sort of trying to sabotage Microsoft. Not really sure. Don't hold me to that by any means. It's not like I'm hearing that from anywhere, but just a little something I have on the back of my head. So I hope that answers your question, VK, and thank you. Our next question comes from Chris Guanman. And Chris asks, do you think that the Prometheans will be no more at the end of Halo 6? I think it'll go one of two ways, Chris. Either once they manage to either defeat or assimilate Cortana, then the Prometheans will no longer be under her control, so maybe they'll work for the UNSC, maybe help advance their ships and their forces. Or yeah, maybe it's kind of like cutting the head off of a snake, where once you do, the rest of it dies. So I think one of those two situations would be the most likely one. So that's a great question, Chris. Thank you. Our next question comes from the Jamster Plays. And the Jamster asks, if after Halo 6, the look into... Oh, I got to look at this. If after Halo 6, they look into different consoles, do you think they would move to a strong VR platform? And how do you think it should be handled? I see them playing with the VR concept with the Halo Recruit program. I'm not really sure that they're going to invest solely into it or a lot into it. And I'm not really sure I'd want them to. I'm not really sure how it would work. I've seen, simulations of how a first-person shooter would work in a VR system. It basically looks like a 360-degree treadmill. And it seems weird and expensive. I think probably the closest that we would see in terms of a VR for Halo is maybe a headset you could wear, where instead of having a big screen in front of you like you might at home, it's basically like right there in your eyes, and maybe it would include some surround sound. But in terms of movements and everything, it would still be controller based. I think it would just be too awkward. Like Halo Recruit seemed cool, don't get me wrong, but it seemed pretty awkward too, and it's a sidestep from what most people consider to be Halo. So I don't think it's a great investment for them unless they do just like a VR headset. So I hope that answers your question, Jamster, and thank you. Our next question comes from Nerf Shooter 101, and Nerf Shooter asks, hey Tyrant, so Christmas is coming up and my grandma said she will get me one Halo game. I already have the Master Chief Collection, so I don't know if I should get Halo Wars 2 or Halo 5 Guardians, and it looks like you have them both, and I don't want my grandma to waste her money on a bad game. So I was wondering which you enjoy more and the reasons for it. I'm asking you and not another YouTuber because I really like your videos and you're one of my favorite YouTubers. Well, thank you, Nerf Shooter. I certainly appreciate that. Basically it's going to come down to you. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions and you can respond in the comments below. First of all, which type of game do you like more? Do you like first-person shooters or do you like real-time strategy games? If you like real-time strategy games more like Command & Conquer and Age of Empires and StarCraft, Halo Wars 2 is going to be for you. If you prefer first-person shooters, then Halo 5 Guardians is going to be for you. Now, I will say that there are pros and cons to both. Again, it depends on you. What do you consider to be more important, story or gameplay? Hidden Xperia and I had this conversation a while ago. We both unanimously agreed that gameplay is more important than the story. Story is icing on the cake, And even to go from there, stories didn't really become mainstream in games till about the late 90s. So in that regard, I will say that Halo 5 has probably the worst story, hands down, of any Halo game. And that includes Halo Spartan Strike, which didn't even have a freaking story. But the gameplay is phenomenal in my opinion. I may be the odd man out on that one, but I thoroughly enjoy the campaign level designs, how large they are both horizontally and vertically. I enjoy the weapon options in Halo 5. I enjoy the movement system, the squad system. I enjoy the multiplayer for the first time since Halo 3. I love playing Warzone, Warzone Firefight, the Halo 3 playlist. Those are all great options. And so I've had a lot of fun with Halo 5 Guardians in that respect. But the story, yeah, wasn't very impressive. Now with Halo Wars 2, I think most of us can agree had a pretty solid story with very good characters, might I add. I love how they did Atriox. I love Captain Cutter, Anders, Isabel, Jerome. You know, they have very solid characters and a great story for Halo Wars 2. The gameplay is fine for what it is, but there's a reason why it doesn't tend to make the sales that the main ones in the series do. It's because it's a completely different type of game. It's an RTS game. And for some people, that's just not for them. So if you're an overall Halo fan, again, ask yourself, do you want the first-person shooter that, you know, most Halo fans are probably playing now? Or do you want the RTS game, which probably isn't getting as much attention? Again, both are great games in their own respect, but it just depends on what you like to play in particular. So I hope that answers your question, Nerf Shooter. And again, answer my questions in the comments below, and maybe I can help you a little bit further. Our next question comes from the Storyteller channel. I saw you last week, bro, but always good to have you here. Storyteller asks, thanks for answering my question, Tyrant Q&A. What are your thoughts on 343 finally speaking out about the Master Chief Collection? I think that's very great. I think that the first, it's like going to an AA meeting. The first step to solving a problem is admitting that you have one to begin with. And the fact that they're willing to come out about it and say, yes, we screwed it up, we're trying to fix it, and we'll try to do better going forward. I think it takes a lot to say that, and I'm glad that they're stepping forward and acknowledging their mistake. So, yep, good on their part, and hopefully that'll work towards our advantage in the future when they make new Halo titles. So, great question, Storyteller. Thank you, and good to see you back here, man. Our next question comes from Ramon Oliveira, and Ramon asks, Q&A, do you, or, oh God, I gotta look at this again. From a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like Halo 5? Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so in my personal opinion, I'd give it maybe a 7 or an 8. I know that sounds a little bit high, and when I do my Halo 5 review, my plan is to do that this week. That's the plan. I'm going to try to do that. But I'll explain sort of why it's taken the place on the list that it has, or how it's earned that place on my list. It's overall a fun game to play. Again, when it's not as good as a couple of the Bungie games out there, sure, but in its own right, I've had a lot of fun with it. I've had a lot of game time with it. Now that I'm going back and doing the Mythic difficulty guide and doing it faster, might I add, a lot faster than the Legendary walkthrough, you know, I'm realizing that it's finally sort of taken me a little bit. I'll go through this a little bit more when I do my review, but essentially I call it Empire Strikes Back syndrome, where the first time I saw the movie I was a little kid. I didn't take to it as much because it had the least action of the original 3 Star Wars movies. But as I got older, I really started to appreciate it for what it was, and now I consider it one of the best ones, one of the best Star Wars films out there, if not one of the best films of all time. Of course, I hate to say this, I might be the odd man out again, but Star Wars A New Hope sort of edges out Empire Strikes Back, in my opinion. It just has that, you know, that feel-good type setting. You know, I still get, you know, hair standing on the back of my neck every time Han Solo flies in on the Millennium Falcon and saves Luke Skywalker from getting blown up by Darth Vader. I still think that's badass, and wow, I'm getting off topic for Halo here. But yeah, so with Halo 5, it was kind of like that, where the more I got used to the game and the more I started warming up to it and the more I started appreciating it. So yeah, I give it maybe a 7.5 out of 10, maybe an 8. But yeah, I hope that answers your question, Ramon. Thank you. Our next question comes from 8-Bit Vampire. That's pretty cool. And Vampire asks, should invisible walls be mostly removed? It really killed the exploration of Halo 5 for me, and I think that maybe 10 to 30 second kill barriers would be so much better. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think walls in the form of invisible barriers should ever existed. These, by the way, started back in Halo Reach. So for those of you who want to blame 343 for that, no, that was Bungie's move. I don't think they should be there. In terms of barriers, they should be natural barriers like Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2. And Halo 3 for that matter. Halo 3 had natural barriers, and if you were talented and skilled enough, you could actually break through those barriers and get further along. You know, again, I feel like it's a cheap effect to try to narrow the game down and play it the way they want you to play it rather than the way you want to play it. So yes, I think they should be removed, or at the very least, yeah, the kill timer should be at least expanded, but yeah, I don't even think they should be there in the first place. Some of them are just absolutely ridiculous. You know, like when I'm driving one of the, I keep forgetting what they're called. They're not Sparrowhawks. I think they're called Wasps. in multiplayer, you know, if I fly too high up, the kill timers, you know, just pops up on the screen. I'm like, really? I'm not even that high. So yeah, those should be removed in future Halo titles. So that's a great topic to bring up, 8-Bit Vampire. Thank you. Our next question comes from Demon Blade 001. And Demon Blade asks, what's your opinion on what they should do after Halo 6? In my opinion, they should do one-offs like Rogue One, like a game for the Halo Wars Arbiter or for Atriox. Maybe if people aren't too against humans fighting, have Halo 1 from the Covenant's viewpoint. Sorry, it's a long question. Viewpoint. All right, so in terms of your last one there, no, I don't ever think there should be Covenant versus humans. It's just not what Halo is. But I do like your other ideas of maybe having Halo games surrounding other characters. You know, it could be one about Atriox, could be one about either our current Arbiter or the one from Halo Wars. There's a lot of content out there. We have so many characters with so many backstories. We could even have one based off of Sergeant Johnson, you know, maybe his adventures on Harvest. There's a lot of content out there. I would rather them, after Halo 6, if they continue to produce more Halo titles, to work backwards instead of forwards and help filling in all those gaps, especially considering the massive gap between Halo 4 and Halo 5. I think that needs to be addressed in-game, and it's an idea for them. I hope that, you know, it's something they're willing to explore. And of course, that's sort of a throwback to our first question. So I think that those are good ideas, and I hope that it's something that they'll pursue in the future. So thanks for asking that. I appreciate it, Demon. Our next question comes from Brian Webb. And Brian asks, what is your best guess as to when Halo 6 will be released? My personal theory is probably not till 2019, just because we haven't seen any teaser trailer for it yet. And usually we get that about a year and a half, or at least the year before the game actually comes out. Late Night Gaming has a different theory. If you're listening, Late Night, I don't know if I agree with you on this, but you do make a solid point. So they had mentioned, or at least he says they mentioned, I didn't actually hear or see them, hear him say it or see him actually write it anywhere, but I could be completely wrong. According to Late Night Gaming, they had already said that from now on, when they do a teaser trailer to their next Halo title, they don't want it to be like a year or so in advance. They want it to be only a few months before it comes out. So he's theorizing that we'll probably see a teaser trailer to Halo 6 this year at E3, or maybe a little bit before, and then Halo 6 will come out in the fall of this year. I don't buy that. I just don't think they've had enough time to work on it, especially since they've done a lot of work with Halo Wars 2. They're still doing updates for Halo 5 Guardians. They've done some reworking for Halo 3 to try to remaster it for the Xbox One and Xbox One X, as well as Halo 5. So I don't see it. I think it would be a real crunch for time, and that the game would still fall short, similar to the initial release of Halo 5 Guardians. So my bet, if I were to suggest anything, if I were to think anything other than Late Night Gaming's theory, I would say maybe early 2019, similar to what they did with Halo Wars 2, simply because they just wouldn't have that much competition. When you talk about late fall, that's usually like peak time for AAA titles, and Halo 6 would have a lot to compete with, and I'm not sure that they're ready to take on that competition yet. So that's my 2 cents right there. Again, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but in my opinion, 2019, maybe second quarter, first or second quarter is what I would personally bet. So I hope that answers your question, Brian. And let me, you guys let me know in the comments below what you think about that. When do you think the next Halo game is going to be released? Is it going to be 2018? Is it going to be 2019? Or is it going to be pushed back even further to like 2020? And our final question of the week, our star question, comes from my buddy Slender Gaming. And Slender Star asks, Tyrant, do you think that Halo 6 will be the ultimate Halo game, being the game that makes all the original Halo games look like Halo 5? I think that's being a little overly optimistic, but let's start from here. I'll tell you what I know and what I believe, and despite what others may think, I know that 343 knows how to make a solid Halo story. I saw that with Halo 4. I saw that with Halo Wars 2. They know how to make memorable characters and memorable settings. Likewise, I know that they can also make excellent gameplay. as I saw in Halo 5 Guardians. They can make huge missions. They can improve on mechanics. Personally, I loved the squad system. I know other people didn't, but I personally thought it was a great innovation. It allowed for more enemies as well, so you had bigger battles in general. The battle zones alone were a lot larger in size, both horizontally and vertically. I loved the jetpack system, or not the jetpack, the thruster pack system that gave you all sorts of new abilities as opposed to armor abilities, which I thought were atrocious. And, you know, I'm a huge fan of Warzone and Warzone Firefight. This is the first time I've had fun in multiplayer since Halo 3, and that's saying a lot coming from me, a guy who rarely ever talks about multiplayer. And I think if they're able to fuse those things together into one game instead of having them as separate games, they can really hit the nail on the head. And I'm rooting for them on this one. We're already seeing evidence that they're really paying attention to the community, and that's a point I'll touch on in a second. But they already said Halo 6 is going to be Master Chief centric, so we're not going to be, you know, spending 12 missions in the boots of Spartan Locke and company. They're going to bring split screen back because that was a big controversial topic for Halo 5 Guardians. And I can already tell you from personal experience that they're definitely being more inclusive with the community. They're definitely paying more attention to the community in general, so they're heading in the right direction. But I'm going to throw some tips out there as to how they can actually make this at least better and more receptive. Not just in making a better story, along with really decent gameplay, which should be obvious, by the way, but in other aspects too. You know, for example, one of the biggest, I guess, blows that not only I received, but also people from the Mythic community, people who really just love campaign in general, is the fact that they took campaign theater mode out, and that was a devastating move for a lot of us, and they need to rectify that. They need to add campaign mode or theater mode for campaign into the latest Halo title. In fact, to take it a step further, someone even made a mod for Halo 4 way back in the day where they actually had sort of a simulated theater mode for campaign, and it worked well. So we know that it can be done, and there's really no excuse for it other than just trying to rush the product. So that needs to be brought back. Secondly, let's talk about Firefight for a second. I'm a big fan of Warzone Firefight. I love Warzone Firefight, and I hope that carries over to Halo 6, but they need to bring back the original Firefight format as well from Halo 3 ODST and Halo Reach. You need to have the option to fight endless waves. And since they have multiple factions now, you can even choose. Do you want to fight Covenant? Do you want to fight Prometheans? Do you want to fight a mixture of both? If the Flood's going to be in Halo 6, maybe they can add a Flood firefight mode. I think those would be great ways to just further expand the replayability value of the next major Halo title. Those things need to be brought back. Next, don't continue taking things away. I've already said that they're planning on bringing back split screen, but if you look at 4 and 5, they keep subtracting things from the game. In Halo 4, they took out Firefight, they took out Campaign Theater Mode. In Halo 4, they took out Firefight and Campaign Theater Mode. In Halo 5, they took out split screen, and I'm just like, come on now. And of course, with Halo 5, they had a bare bones release. With Halo 6, don't release it until you've got all the proper things in the game. You know, the campaign, of course, people were kind of up in the air about because, yeah, the gameplay was better, but the story was not up to par with what we expect with a Halo game. And of course, with multiplayer, we had Warzone and Arena, and that was about it. So they need to have a decent amount of maps available. They need to have a decent amount of playlists available for people. They need to have Firefight available at launch, not a year later. And they also need to have Forge mode available at launch, not a year later. You know, that's the thing. The Forge mode we have in the Forge mode we have in Halo 5 Guardians is the best and most complex Forge we've ever seen. I've seen some amazing things created from it. Even a remake of my favorite all-time map, Avalanche. We need to have those tools available to us at launch. They can expand on them later. That's perfectly fine and acceptable. But don't leave key elements like that, things that have been a part of Halo since back in Halo 3, back in 2007, don't leave those out. They should be included. If they do this, I think we'll see a much more positive reception to Halo 6. And that's the other thing, no cliffhanger ending. Actually bring it to a full circle, make sure it's satisfiable. And you know, the thing of it is, I've mentioned in previous videos that I think one thing that they should consider doing is having a more open-ended campaign. You know, you could, depending on your actions, you might go to one mission or another mission, and that would just further increase the replay value, and it would have multiple endings. So maybe one you didn't like, But if you make different decisions, you get to an ending that's more satisfying for you. I think there's a lot of options they could take. They certainly have the power to do it. I mean, especially if we're talking about the Xbox One X here, there is no reason why they shouldn't be able to pull this off. So I have high hopes. You know, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. They seem to definitely be listening to people and even correcting their own mistakes, as well as acknowledging others that they've made. I have a lot of confidence in them. You know, I would like to say I'm cautiously confident, if that makes any sense. So I'm rooting for them hard. I hope you guys too. Definitely support them. Don't give them too much flack. You know, be supportive. Offer them constructive criticism. That way they'll actually listen. That's my 2 cents on it. Slender, that was a great question. Thank you for asking. And I want you guys to let me know in the comments below, what would it take for you to make Halo 6 better, or Halo 6 a great Halo game? Don't say I want Bungie to make it, because that wouldn't make a difference anyway. But actual things that they could really do to make Halo 6 a great Halo game. Whatever your thoughts are, you can let me know in the comments below, or hit me up on Twitter at MythicTyrant. So that brings an end to the Q&A part. I wanted to give you guys a couple of updates and also pitch some things your way, just to get some back and forth with you. The first thing I want to talk about is the whole premium thing, and I hate continuously bringing this up with you guys. I know you're probably sick of hearing it, but I did want to give you an update at this point. So for those of you who aren't familiar with this, and I'm sure most of my Q&A folks especially are familiar with this, because of the whole adpocalypse situation that YouTube has been generating, unfortunately, with that, and corporations backing out of advertisements and so forth, YouTubers like me and many others have seen as much as a 70% decrease in their monthly revenue, which is devastating. It's like making $100,000 a year one year, and the next year making only $30,000. That's quite a slap in the face. And so to help counter this, from suggestions by most of you guys, I started a Patreon site. And essentially what this allows you to do is you can donate to the site once a month, and that'll help balance out the trouble that's being caused by YouTube and the folks who helped start this or snowball this to begin with. So I figured I would take a second and just address what it is and how it could benefit you, and how that could help save this site, because I don't want to have to give this up next year and find something else just because I can't make a living off of this. So to sort of explain what you do, so I'll post a link up here in terms of where you can go to check this out. And it gives a little bio about me and a little bit about my history, about not just about me, but with Halo and how I ended up doing this full time anyway. So it starts out, there are different levels that you can donate. And the first is as little as $1 a month. I mean, that's pretty cheap when you think about it. $1 a month is about the same cost. It's actually cheaper than annually than a movie ticket. It'd be basically $12 a year, whereas movie tickets now are like, I think, $14 or $15, depending on where you go. And so, yeah, that's how cheap it is. Now, what do you get for donating $1 a month? So you get access to our premium community Discord, and I'll give you a shout out on Twitter just to let everyone know, hey, check this guy out. He's very cool. He's obviously a dedicated MythicTyrant community member. Definitely give him a shout out. The next level up is the $5 a month level. This is the benefactors level, and you get the Twitter shout out, and you get access to the community Discord. But you also get a shout out in my video, or in one of my videos as well. So everyone knows who you are, and just I do that because I want people to appreciate you for you going out of your way to help me keep my head above water. And so I want you to be recognized for that. The next level up is the $10 a month, and that's really the highest anyone's gone, and really that's the last one I'm going to discuss, because really the others that come after that are a bit unrealistic for most people, and I would never ask them to do that. They're just there and just in case. But and we actually have quite a few $10 a month donors, and that's the Team Tyrant rank, and essentially you get all the other stuff too, but in addition to that, there is a special thread in our premium community Discord called Team Tyrant. And what that does is it's a place for Team Tyrant members and above to gather and that's where we plan our community game nights. We've already had one so far. It was a lot of fun. Big shout out to you, Chris. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully next time we can get other Team Tyrant guys on there as well. And so that's where we plan them. Now, we just had one. The next one will probably be coming up in the next few weeks. It's a little bit touchy because I know the holidays are coming up, and so people might be going out of town and making plans. So it may be inconvenient, but again, that's the thread where we discuss it. So that's sort of the perk. I am doing sort of a probationary period now, just because we did have one person who pledged $10 a month and then never paid it. So I don't want someone getting something that they didn't earn. If you have people who are legitimately paying that $10 a month, I want them to be able to have access to it. So that's basically what the Patreon is, and it's just, it would be, I appreciate everyone who's donated to it. It really does mean a lot to me. I will say that unfortunately we've only reached about 7%, a little under 8% of our goal, which, and the Patreon site's been out for about 2.5 months now, and I said that I'd be looking at making different decisions in February if it came down to it. So we got about 3 months to go, and so I'm a little bit worried that we're not going to actually hit our goal. So hopefully, if you can reach out to folks that you think might be interested in my channel, or who are interested in my channel, and just say, hey, check this guy out. If you can spare $1 a month, it could really help him out. It'll keep his site going throughout 2018 and beyond. And you get perks and benefits, and that's where I want to talk about one other thing. If we can get the ball rolling on that, we can get a decent amount of donors and a decent amount of monthly revenue generating. I will use part of that to occasionally hold contests where I give away certain prizes, maybe games, who knows, maybe even consoles on rare occasions, might I add, consoles. But I want to be able to give back to you guys too, because you're helping me keep my head above water and helping me achieve my dream by allowing me to keep doing this. Now, I understand that not everyone can donate. Once a month can seem a little bit tedious. You never know what your situation is going to be one month to the next, and I get that. Not everyone has the money to spare. So we've set up a MythicTyrant store as well, and I want to take a minute to talk to you about that. So we sell dozens of different items in there. A lot of them were designed by my wife, who has been a major help to me throughout all this. And there's lots of cool things you can look at. There's winter's coming up, and so we have hoodies with the MythicTyrant logo on it. We have T-shirts as well. And if you like electronics, of course, we have USB drives, and we have wireless keyboards, all with a MythicTyrant logo on it. And it's cool because my wife actually bought one of those hoodies, and I was surprised. It looks fantastic. And I'm not just saying that because it's my store. I legitimately didn't know what to expect. And to see the final product, I was like, wow, that's actually pretty cool. So the holidays are coming up, and if you do one thing for me tonight, let me rephrase that. If there's one thing I highly suggest you do, it's after you're done watching this video, you just go ahead and click on it. I'll post a link up here. Check it out. I also have a link in the description below, so check it out, look through it. You might find something that you really like and something that you might want for the holiday season. So I would really appreciate it. Lots of stuff there for both men and women alike. So hopefully you find something there that you like. But let's say that you don't have any money and you can't afford to donate anything. There's still one thing that you can do that's absolutely 100% free. So recently, YouTube has changed their algorithms in a way that makes it more difficult for people to have their videos show up in other people's news feeds and whatnot. But there's one way that you can circumvent that, and that's hitting the notification icon. It looks like a little bell. You'll get notified on your smartphone or your email whenever I put a new video out. That way you can be one of the first to see it and comment on it. And really, that would be probably the most effective thing you can do. Because I've noticed just in this past week alone, I've had one video reach over 1,000 views, and that was last week's Q&A. Every other video couldn't even reach that. And most of those videos were for my Halo 5 Guardians Mythic difficulty walkthrough, something that people have been begging me to do. And so I was really surprised to see such a low turnout for that sort of thing. And I realized that YouTube's new algorithms are part of the reason for that. And clicking on the notification icon means that the video is there and you can watch it. And I hope people do watch it, because essentially when I come up with a new walkthrough, it always has refined tactics from the previous one. It's always a little bit better. So even though it's a Mythic walkthrough, even if you don't want to try it yourself, it could help you with your legendary progress. And just so you know, there actually is a mythic/lazo emblem that you get for completing each mission. I actually posted on the end of on the tail end of each of those videos, so you can see what it looks like. And so that's the biggest thing that you can do to help me out there. You know, it's so weird to me that I've got almost 35,000 subscribers. You know, there's no excuse to me why each and every video shouldn't at least be getting a couple of thousand hits, especially when I'm going back to the core thing that got me started, which is doing walkthroughs for Halo. So definitely check those out. You know, through doing the skull guides and the guides for finding the secret weapons, it sort of renewed my interest in Halo 5 Guardians, and it allowed me to find new ideas and new tactics for conquering the mission. So again, check it out. It's a lot of fun to give it a try, and you definitely feel accomplished once you've actually tried it. And so hopefully that's the case. Now, once I've at least gotten most of the missions under my belt, I'll start doing the written portion on halo.bungie.org, just like I've done with all the other Halo games too. So definitely check that out, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. But in case that isn't enough, there are a couple of ideas that I'm throwing out there to maybe do differently on this site. I'm still not entirely sure yet what I'm going to do, but the problem with having mostly Halo content on here is when the game doesn't do well, this site doesn't do well. In the past, I've tried expanding by doing other games, but again, it's sort of hit and miss. Like my Star Wars Battlefront video did well. My original Titanfall video did well. But when I post anything on Resident Evil, despite it being a popular franchise, no one ever watches it. When I posted my video on Gears of War, or Gears of War 4, I should say, no one watched it. When I posted my video on Titanfall 2, despite the first one doing so well, no one watched it. So I'm going to try something a little bit different, where I'm going to pick at least, I'm probably not going to start doing this until 2018, but I'm going to pick one day a week to do a show that has absolutely nothing to do with video games. It's a little bit of a leap for this site, but there's one thing I've always wanted to talk about, and it may seem kind of lame, but it's an interest I've had since I was a little kid, and that's dinosaurs. And I thought it'd be cool to do a little dinosaur series on there. I don't know how many of you are dinosaur fans. I've been one since I was a little kid. I thought it'd be fun to do videos showcasing different ones, how some are more powerful than others, comparing the real dinosaurs to the ones you see in Jurassic Park and other media out there. So I thought that would be fun. Maybe I'll do other shows in addition to that one. But that's something that I sort of had on my mind. And let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below. Is it something that might interest you? Something, you know, just a little different from Halo that might pique your interest? And the other idea I sort of had in mind is I'm bringing back an older show that it was kind of on the fence, but I'm having it produced by a couple of really talented people this time. So they'll be working with me too, and hopefully it's something that'll pull you in. I don't want to give too many details on that because I'm still not sure about the time frame on it yet. But as we get closer to release, you know, I'll fill you in on some more details. So I hope that was productive for you. Again, I know that was a little bit long-winded. I hope you guys got something from this. And, you know, again, just whatever questions you have for me, or even if it's just for Q&As next week, you know, just let me know in the comments below or on Twitter, @MythicTyrant. That's where you can find me. So I want to thank every single one of you for watching. Thank you so much. I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. And as I say at the end of every video, if you like this video and you want to see more, and you want to stay up to date on all your Halo news, tips, tricks, and secrets, don't forget to click that subscribe button for more great content every single day right here on MythicTyrant.com, as well as that notification icon so you can be one of the first to see the video and comment on the video. Thanks so much for watching, guys and gals. I hope everyone has a great weekend. I'll catch you all right back here next time. And as always, I'm the Tyrant, signing off.